have. I don't know. That's not from my OBS. Anyway, so I think Peganator is equally comfortable on land and water, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him picking something water-based. But I haven't seen John the Late play on water, so that could be a potential difference between the two players. I don't know if he's got a good grush or not. But I've seen him look very solid on land with like macro, different builds, different strategies, executing them all well. So it'll just be interesting to see what happens. Blind Random has thrown up Gold Rush with John the Late. I wonder if have I still got team colours on? No, I haven't. Okay, so John the Late in red as Celts, and Peganator in blue as Vikings.
Before talking about the map of player, I would just say that I would love for one militia to go on the left side of the map, take all those walls to the opponent player. That would be the dream.
Yeah, it would be the dream. We've actually have we seen that happen in this tournament? Because the guy who's called like Hyuna or Hyuna or something, he posted a video on AoC Zone of him doing a wolf drush, and like I think that possibly occurred in the Noobs of AoC game. So we'd love to see that in the grand final, and like one of the other players attempting that, because that is a lot of wolves. That is 16 wolves. Imagine if you sent 16 wolves to your opponent's wood line. That would be great.
Totally. That's a surprising move all the time. You can almost never expect it coming.
I think that the map is favouring Peganator simply because the gold is very, very close to him. If you look at these, sort of the right side of the gold, it's very, very close to Peganator's TC. And Vikings, although in the late game they absolutely pale in comparison to Celts, he should have a very good early to mid game that's going to allow him to kind of push out and take some control of that middle area.
You just have to be very careful about those berries, because those are very, very forward berries, and there is no way towards them, like to the TC or anything.
Yeah, and obviously something like a Drush, Dark Age Rush with Militia, or a quick Feudal Age and Man at Arms is something that is very, very viable with the Celts, so those will be exposed.
But the map of John the Late isn't a bad map. He still has one small gold on the back, one stone on the back, and his berries on the back. He could stay in the back of his base until beginning of Castle Age.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is actually a very nice.
Have you seen that? John the Late just lost a Ville at his TC against the boar.
Yeah, I heard it, and we can see the corpse. So that's not an ideal start for him, but he is currently on the same number of villagers. His TC was also idle for a little while as well. I wonder if Peganator had that happening to him. Like, he hasn't lost a villager, but he doesn't seem to be a villager ahead up until now. And John the Late has caught him up, so I think Peganator had idle TC anyway, so
they are still equal in terms of villager number.
Yeah, it's barely anything edit. So a less than ideal start for Peganator. Whilst we were laughing at the number of wolves over on the left and then looking at the berries, we didn't see the fact that perhaps he got his sheep plate or something. John the Late could be about to lose his scout now though. He turned he was kind of running diagonally, and if he'd have maintained that, then the scout wasn't taking hits so much, but then he turned and ran directly away from the TC, which he never wanted to do. He always wanted to run diagonally once the TC's firing at you. So
that's unfortunate for him, because now he wouldn't be able to scout any drush or forwards coming.
Yeah, so let's see what he can actually see. He has very minimal information about Peganator's base. He can see that one of his 3 tile golds that belong to him is forward, but he can't see the berries, and he has no idea where the wood lines of Peganator will be. And it looks like Peganator, with the positioning of that house, may sort of choose to extend a palisade just from that house to the edge of the forest perhaps, and then just a little way towards his TC to try and protect his wood a little bit. Unfortunately for Peganator, he's just lured this boar and it's gone back, and if he doesn't do a little bit of micro here, the boar's going to end up on the wrong side of the TC.
The boar is not moving.
Yeah, it doesn't want to move. That's bizarre.
The boar is staying there. I don't care if I'm shooting by 100 arrows. I will not move.
So we've seen quite sloppy starts for both players, and I'm quite surprised by that, because I think they are both very much capable of running a good Dark Age, and I think it's probably nerves for both of them, because this game has received quite a big build-up in as far as Noobs games go. I mean, there's even been a video produced for it. And we've had the stream running epic soundtrack music for half an hour before the start of the game, and I was like, wait, we need more viewers, let's wait a little while. So there seems like the Dark Ages for the two players aren't quite being optimal at this point. Peganator is starting to wall up a little bit. He's doing that little house wall near his lumber camp that I was thinking he might do. I expect, as I said, he'll just extend.
Actually, we haven't talked about the civilizations they got. Like Celts versus Viking. Who do you think has the edge?
Well, I think until the Celts sort of siege and late game advantage starts kicking in, I'd rather have Vikings on this map, just because you're going to be having a better economy in the mid game with the free wheelbarrow and the handcart, and I think that obviously Drush FC crossbow or something like that would be a great strategy with Vikings in this sort of situation, and you can do that a lot better than Celts, because obviously Celts don't want to be going into crossbows too much. They would probably choose to just like defend with mangonels if the Viking did choose to that, but neither player has opted for a Drush in the end. Both of them going up quite late for the amount of population that they have, so it's hard to tell what they have in mind at this point in time.
They still seems to be going for some kind of I don't know, further rush. But just looking at their food, they might even go for a fast caster.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the gold, because Peganator is on gold already, and his food count's looking okay. He's not gonna be able to pull off like a good fast castle time straight away, because he's just not gonna get the food. Doesn't have much food at the moment, so I don't think that's what he's got in mind, because he's got sort of 5 villagers on berries. He's stopped taking the deer. He's got no farms, so it's hard to say.
Still waiting for his move.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing. Whereas John the Late's gonna go for a scout rush as Celts,
and the Peganator is going to go for an archery range.
Yeah.
But the problem for John the Late is that the Peganator base is totally walled. Well, oh yes, actually totally walled. I thought this little tree on the back wasn't there.
Yeah, there is that one tree just blocking it. I think that a scout rush is not going to be too effective. He's getting out one spear anyway, so let's see if he actually saw the stable or whether he's just anticipating it. Yeah, he saw that stable going up, so he's reacting correctly in that way.
John the Late is walling his base now. He should be careful to wall the little side of the lake as well.
On the far left hand side. It just seems that like he's just going for a little bit of an odd build, because this is kind of well, if he wants to get a reasonable cast of time, I'd want to see him dropping more farms than this much sooner. And
John the Late is just visiting Peganator base with his spearman, taking some scouting information probably. Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. I mean, the problem for Peganator is that he's created these walls which are going to, with the idea of stopping John the Late from running through the small gap between the TC, but he doesn't actually have any villagers anywhere near the TC, so he can't fire anyway.
Yeah, I still would think twice before going into this little base, because if
the scouts are on the berries though.
Yeah, like Peganator just finished one forage bush, and that allows the scouts to go in and to pick up one villager.
Yeah, I mean Peganator's been making spears to ward off that sort of thing, and I'd have thought that he would have kept one very, very, very close to his berries rather than being kind of lax with it and sort of leaving it in the middle of nowhere. He's already got one patrolling that small gap, and he's actually almost walling up his whole TC to try and close that gap, because I think he realises that scouts can still run in. But Okay, John the Late is dropping a lot of farms. It's kind of weird because I was looking at his build and thinking that this is going to be a really bad scout rush, and he's going to struggle to get much food, and his castle time's going to be really, really late. But because both players had like a suboptimal Dark Age with late up times and idle and stuff, like they were piling up some resources. So even though I was looking at John the Late's economy and thinking like, oh, it's a bit teetering on the edge for a scout build, because the timings were off and he wasn't like draining all of his resources, it hasn't worked out too badly for him.
Unfortunately for John the Late, he's putting a wall on the west side of his base, but he will not be able to finish it. Those archer will totally tear his villager apart, and he doesn't seem to have anything to go against those. That could be very, very bad for him.
Throwing up 2 archery ranges now, which
if he can put them up, I'm not sure we'll be able to.
Yeah, he's gonna struggle because the position that he put them in, it's gonna be very difficult for him to build them. His scouts have got +1 armor though, although Peganator does have fletching, but
yeah, and he's on the hill. Well, he might need like one more, at least one more to get them.
Yeah, you're right. At least 1 or 2 more scouts in order to take on that group of archers, I would have thought, especially whilst they hold the hill. But Peganator's picking up a nice number of villagers here now. He leads by 4, and with that Viking free wheelbarrow kicking in from the start of the feudal age, his economy is going to be functioning much better at this point. John the Late having to slow down villager production for the time it takes to create 3 villagers, I think, just to get wheelbarrow, whereas Peganator has it already, and by the time that wheelbarrow kicks in, he'll be 10 villagers or more behind. At least it looks like he's going to get rid of those archers, but it suggests they've done their damage already.
Not sure. Those archers could still go in a little corner and pick up all those scouts. Peganator is microing quite nicely, actually.
Yeah,
not losing that much.
Decent micro.
But then those skirmishers which are coming to help the scouts.
But he needed those 3 skirmishers when the scouts initially engaged. If he had those 3 skirmishers as well, I think he'd have done okay, but in the end it didn't work out as a good fight for him at all, and Peganator's just been able to carry on picking off villagers. Still got carry on.
John the Late is just aiming to go Castle Age. No, he's got the gold. He needs the 200 food yet compared to the 200 food of Peganator, so his aim is to go Castle Age earlier.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe boom behind that or use the superior technology to take the advantage, because he's so down in villager number.
Yeah, Peganator needs to keep his economy working though. He had kind of 7 idols then, and it looks like he's now onto a good number of farms and he's adding more. But I think he started to add them slightly late. I think he went a while without having too much food income, which is why he's going to be quite far behind in terms of getting to the Castle Age. But he does have a huge advantage at this point.
Yeah, John the Late is the first to click up to Castle Age. He has less armies than Peganator.
The thing is that John the Late can't hurt Peganator quickly with his early Castle Age because he doesn't. Oh, he's mining gold at the back. Never mind. I was going to say he's walled out his gold, but he is mining gold at the back. But he's still not really going to have an army that he can upgrade and just go over and start killing villagers and slaughtering the Peganator because he's only got skirmishers. He's not producing anything else at the moment.
And what do you think could be like the best army to go against those archers? Staying on skirmisher and elite skirmisher, because he's so much outnumbered, so he can't really switch to archer right now, or maybe knights. Actually, he's producing some more scouts. It's weird, if you want my opinion.
Yeah, I think so, because he's probably not aware that Peganator has continued to produce archers and now has something like 17 or more or less that number, and that's the number of archers where you really need mass scouts to deal with them, and that scout is basically, I think he's just doing it for map scouting information though. He hasn't produced another one and he's just heading off into the different parts of the map, so I think he's realised his view of the map isn't enough, so that's the right choice not to continue making any more scouts. I guess we're going to see elite skirmisher. He's also investing in padded archer armour, so he's definitely expecting Peganator to stick with the archery unit play and just try and counter that. I think elite skirmisher and bodkin instantly, so Peganator just needs to be careful when that kicks in.
Yeah, I like that idea of going for elite skirmisher because it will hard counter those archer. And but Peganator put a stable as well, so he might be able to go for like 1 or 2 knights.
Yeah, if he had just 2 knights to enter that army of, you would presume crossbows. Once he has been in the Castle Age for a little while, he's going to be. John the Late will really struggle to match that at all because.
So John the Late is putting a second TC and is trying to engage with Archer because before the upgrades come in. But Peganator is retreating. He might walk into those walls.
Oh wow. I mean, it's got crossbows, but
yeah.
The thing is, he's got to either shoot the wolves or shoot the skirms. He doesn't want to just stand there shooting wolves and dying to the skirmishers. So those wolves are going to cause a lot of damage if he continues to flee to the south. But
he's microing quite well. He's picking out skirmisher, and John the Late is not microing at all. So
yeah, it looks like lost. As many skirmishers went down as crossbows there.
Yeah, and he was helped by Gaia. So and now this knight is going to tear those skirmisher apart.
Well, it has no upgrades, and if it stands downhill, it will still take a lot of damage from skirmishers with a +2. But
yeah, and two spears are coming, so nice micro by Peganator taking rid of those spears.
Yeah, and the wolf that just decided to get involved as well.
Yeah.
Needs to be careful now, Peganator, though. He's going to lose a lot of units if he goes like that. I think he just needs to run away now. He hasn't got enough crossbows to micro this.
That was a good fight for John the Late.
But Peganator's getting 2 town centres on the middle goals already. He's still a couple of villages ahead, and John the Late only now dropping his 3rd one. So Peganator will be... Go on.
John the Late looks like he wants to go aggressive and putting a siege workshop in front of his base.
Yep. I hadn't seen that coming up.
I don't know what siege workshop and skirmisher will do. Like 3 knights and the whole army which is down.
Dropping 2 more barracks as well, but they're not going to be built. If you see where he's put them next to the relic cliff, and Peganator's army remains there. He's cancelled them as well. You're right. Celt Siege, of course, especially if he gets it on that middle hill, will be great, but it needs backing up at the very least. Probably, you would have thought some pikemen if Peganator continues to add a couple of knights.
Yeah, Peganator is just 3 vills ahead, 4 vills now compared to the 10s he was at one point. So John the Late is catching a little bit up in terms of villager count.
Yeah, I think he probably got onto the 2nd town centre a little bit earlier, which is the reason for that. But now John the Late's losing these forward villagers, and Peganator with 4 knights coming in, he's going to take down all of those skirms, and he's got a very powerful army at the moment. A few feudal age spearmen for John the Late, but they will die pretty easily to the knights, especially if they're downhill, and the crossbows obviously...
Nice shot on the crossbow by the... But now the army of Peganator seems
it's just too powerful.
Very scary, and John the Late doesn't have anything to counter those knights. Except some spears, but spears won't do anything with few archers on the back.
Yeah, I mean, though, if Peganator went in through that gap in the wall, he could take John the Late completely off gold at this point, because there's just no way John the Late could kick Peganator out of his base. I mean, he wouldn't need perhaps Mangonel to deal with the crossbows, but his siege workshop is forward. Nice quick wall though with that house then to stop him going in, because that would have been disastrous.
Will that be able to stop those knights? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, they can't stop the knights from carrying in unless he continues to re-wall a lot behind it.
And he's doing it.
Yeah, but even as he does that, crossbows on the left side of the lake picking up some more villagers.
If he can keep those knights out, those skirmisher could be able to deal with crossbow and taking some hits on the knights as well. What I'm worried about is this little tree on the north side of John the Late base that he will cut and you will never see it. His base will be open on the north.
Yeah, good spot. That's why I love having a co-caster, and especially one so attentive. This is a great number of crossbows for Peganator now as well. The army is looking great. Like at this point, I think if you would like to be more aggressive, then adding a couple of mangonels to this would mean that John the Late has a very little chance of repelling the army. But to be honest, whilst John the Late's perimeter is just composed of palisade wall on the right hand side, he doesn't even need that to get in.
Yeah, that's true. But he still got a skirmisher going out by this way. And he noticed the hole and he's now running like 10 of his vills from the north to nowhere. He has almost enough stone to put a castle. So if he's able to defend for like 3 minutes and putting a castle in the middle of his thesis, might be okay, but I doubt he will. Those knights are just...
as well for Peganator. So I'm just going to have a look at Peganator's resources. He's got 700 gold in the bank, as you might expect, because he's mining so heavily in the middle. I think he's doing a great job of idling John the Late. So you could argue that he's taking a lot of unnecessary fire from TCs and stuff, but the fact is he knows he's ahead, and he's got a great economy at home, which is just not being touched, so it doesn't really matter if he kind of loses some units to TC fire and stuff, because he's stopping John the Late from stabilizing in this game.
He can totally afford to lose that army and still be in the lead, so it's not a big deal. And he's picking some villager right and left, going imp. I mean, John the Late with a stronger economy
doesn't even have places to hide all his villagers. I don't know if Peganator noticed the ones that were hiding under the TC on the left, but he could have picked up more kills.
That sounds like a down game for me. Now John the Late is trying to put his castle, but I'm not sure about the position.
Yeah,
I guess it would defend the left side of his map, but all those farms and the TC on the far right are open to raidings.
Yeah, it's a panic castle, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
like
just pure panic.
All economy of John the Late is idle. He just put a TC on the north side of the map with his running villager, and he's trying to run some scouts now to Peganator, but Peganator is well protected. He's got the TC everywhere.
Do you see on the right, the one skirmisher for John the Late is now raiding, but a wolf is cheating for Peganator. He's got Gaia is on his side.
Well, Gaia was on the side of John the Late before, so we could say it's fair.
Yeah.
Peganator is coming forward with some vill and putting a forward castle. Yeah. There is no way John the Late will be able to deny it.
Yeah, and he's getting Cavalier and Arbalest. That's going to be so powerful. And meanwhile, John the Late's stuck in Castle Age with only 60 villagers and naught food. He's streaming scouts from 3 stables, so he's literally never going to mass up the army at that rate. He's going to struggle to replenish his villagers, and he's never going to the Imperial Age. And I think that very, very soon the technology advantage is just going to end this game.
Yeah, if John the Late hang on, he would probably resign when the first trap will be going out of this castle.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing he can do. Right now, the only good thing for him is that Peganator doesn't have any siege weaponry, but as soon as those traps will be there, that won't be the case anymore. And here is a GG.
Yeah. John the Late says he was too late. Well, that was an interesting game. Up until this point, I think John the Late was undefeated in the tournament. But he's played games where he's been under very little pressure at all, and under those circumstances, he's looked very solid. Like, he's executed like boom strategies with like defense to just allow him to build it up and held his opponents off, or he's even done the complete opposite and gone aggressive with like Aztec monks and stuff like that. But he's always done that against inferior opponents, and now he's come up against the other kind of star player of Noobs of AoC, if you like, and I think both players were suffering from nerves in the early game. I don't think either of them played as well as they could have done in the Dark Age. But in the end, seemed like Peganator just played more aggressively, and he was always having like an aggressive composition with his army with crossbows and knights and things, whereas John the Late was always thrown onto the defensive, and that's never good in Gold Rush because you need the gold in the middle. You can't be defending all the time.
What I've noticed in those kind of, let's say, low-level games, it's usually the player who is going aggressive who will win. They have a very hard time defending, often losing a few villagers unnecessary. So going aggressive might be the key to win both games.
Yeah, I think the most
Yes.
standout stat from the achievements was simply 9,000 gold for the Peganator versus
Yes.
1,500 for John the Late. And that's why we saw Arbalests and Cavaliers versus Scouts and Skirmishers. It's crazy.